Thank you, Jim. Good morning. And welcome to Unity of Columbus. We begin by making this space a holy space, a sacred space, and we invite you who are joining us remotely today or any day to make the space where you are a holy space as well. So we light a Christ candle to just be a reminder to us of our innate divinity. We are, as Jesus said, the light of the world. And precious Spirit, we give thanks for this now moment. We give thanks that joy is a spiritual gift, one that we carry within us and that we may share with others. And it is the season of giving. And so with the very breath of life, we affirm your spiritual gift of joy and give thanks for it. And for this and so much more, we say, Amen and Amen. Well, once again, I say good morning and welcome to Unity of Columbus. My name is Darren Wells. I'm your Board of Trustees President and your platform assistant for today. And today we have a very special guest, Sensei Glenn Gustafson, from the Center of Pragmatic Buddhism here in Central Ohio. And so we're very honored and blessed to have you with us today. But first, I invite us to begin as we begin each Sunday by affirming our statement of faith. I'll speak it once and invite you to repeat it after me. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good, all love. Together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good, all love. And I invite us to take that statement within. Affirm it silently to yourself. And from the consciousness of faith, we affirm together again aloud our statement of faith together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good, all love. And so it is. And we are a ministry that carries a spiritual vision. And that vision is united in spirit. We are a loving community, co-creating a world of peace, abundance, and joy for all. Let's affirm that together. United in spirit, we are a loving community, co-creating a world of peace, abundance, and joy for all. Yes. And through our classes, our Sunday services, everything we do here at Unity, we fulfill this mission. With God as our source, Unity of Columbus inspires people to realize and express their divine nature in an awakening world. Let's affirm that together. United in spirit, with God as our source, Unity of Columbus inspires people to realize and express their divine nature in an awakening world. And so it is. And we hold in our hearts the call of Spirit. We are creative, authentic, learning, and loving. And this is the spiritual DNA of our community. It is who we are at our core values. And Unity of Columbus is affiliated with the Greater Unity Movement, publishers of the Daily Word magazine. And today, for the fourth Sunday of Advent, December 20th, our word is joy. Joy dawns in my grateful heart. Joy to the world. The carol echoes the joyous message proclaiming the Messiah's birth. Today I feel this same triumphant joy awakening in me. I may have endured a long and cumbersome journey on the way to discover the joy that is alive in me, the truth of me as a spiritual being. I may have spent years denying my spiritual identity, thinking that fulfillment, wholeness, and abundance were for others and not for me. Now, as I've made the Advent journey, I have kindled my faith, felt the tranquility and comfort of peace, and received the soothing touch of deep and abiding love. Those gifts have led me to understand with deep gratitude that joy is mine to know, to feel, and to live. And the scripture comes from the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 2, verse 10. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people." And the affirmation once more, joy dawns in my grateful heart. Let's affirm that together. Joy dawns in my grateful heart. And so it is. And so with that in mind, having made the Advent journey with this final Sunday of Advent, we light our Advent candles of faith, peace, love, and finally, that pink candle there, joy. Joy dawns within my grateful heart. And it is with a grateful heart, once again, that we welcome Sensei Glenn. I'll speak just a little bit about him before we move into our meditation, which he'll be leading here momentarily. Sensei Glenn received a bachelor's in religious studies at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and a master's in counseling and development at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. He has been studying with his current teacher, Dr. James Eubanks, Sensei, since 2012, and has been the head priest at the Central Ohio Center for Pragmatic Buddhism since 2014. He received ordination to the rank of Sensei in 2016. His principal area of study is the early Pali discourses, and you'll have to help me with this pronunciation, called the Atthakavagga. Oh, good, thank you. Or Chapter of Eights, and he is also quite interested in the liturgical renewal of Buddhism in the West. And Sensei Glenn has been involved with the Interfaith Association here in Central Ohio and the Buddhist Network of Central Ohio, and he is active in interfaith actions for social justice. And will you join me in welcoming Sensei Glenn? And now we'll invite Sensei Glenn up to lead us in a meditation.
Thank you. Since our topic today, or my topic today, is Mudita, which means sympathetic joy, I wanted to lead a meditation on this act of sharing joy. So if you could, for a moment, gently close your eyes and call to mind an image of yourself in one of the more joyful periods of your life. It might be a Christmas morning, or a marriage, or the birth of a child, but sometime you felt overwhelming joy. And now say to that image of yourself, may you feel this joy again. And now call to mind a close friend, someone you care about, maybe a spouse, a child, and say to this person, may you feel the same joy that I felt then. And now call to mind someone that you have trouble with, someone you're in conflict with. See them standing in front of you and say to this person, may you feel the joy that I felt then. And finally, expand your vision out to see the whole of creation, trees and streams, birds, plants, animals, people. Reach out and embrace creation and say to the whole of it, may you feel the joy that I felt then. Now gently open your eyes again and come back to today.
Well, today's daily word is joy. And when I was thinking about holiday joy, I tried to think of when I play the piano for people, what are the things that I play that make people exhibit the most joy? And there were 3 songs that came to mind. Of course, the first one is Piano Man, because everybody loves that. And the second one is the only song I've ever played that no matter where the crowd is from, be it China or Argentina or wherever, Bohemian Rhapsody. Everybody loves that song, and they exhibit incredible joy. So trying to think of what Christmas song makes people exhibit that kind of joy, there is really only one answer. It'll make you want to dance. I'm changing the camera. Yes, it's the same guy running the video, so I understand. Here's the one song. Does this one go like this? Yeah. Or does it not goes like this?
So just a quick word about perception. If you were expecting a quiet, reserved, stereotypical Buddhist, you're not going to get that. My father was a Presbyterian minister, and he was a very passionate and scholarly preacher. And that's the way that I teach. Behold, I bring you good news, good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. Probably also not the way you expected a Buddhist priest to begin his talk. But I do rejoice with you and share your joy in the birth of Jesus. I also share the joy with the Jewish people in the miracle of the sacred lamps being lit again in the temple. And I rejoice with pagans as they celebrate the return of the sun in the darkness of winter. And I rejoice with the First Nations as they celebrate the rest and refreshment that the winter brings. The sharing of stories, the learning of lessons, the preparation for the renewal of spring. Finally, I share the joy of other Zen Buddhists as we celebrate the awakening of Siddhartha Gautama as the one we call the Buddha. And with my own center as we prepare to open our new location tomorrow morning. All of these I celebrate as one joy, even though only one of them would be said to be my joy. But I experience them all alike. In Buddhist teachings, we have a word for this, mudita. It translates best as something like sympathetic joy, the joy in the joy of others. And the Buddha considered it one of the attributes of awakening. Joy is the message this season brings. We all want to feel happy, but there are different kinds of happiness. There's the happiness of buying or being given something that we've wanted for a long time. But that happiness fades as we find out that thing doesn't make us as happy as we thought it would, or it breaks, or we lose it. There's the happiness of a new love, but unless it's a true one, it may fade as fast as the happiness of a new bike. Or I guess these days the kids would say a new video game. But then there's the happiness I refer to as joy. This is the happiness we get from the other people in our lives being happy. Before I talk about that, though, I want to mention just briefly a bit more about those other types of happiness, because they end up making us more sad if we place our faith in them. Commercial society is built around the concept that things outside ourselves are needed for our happiness. Those things might be actual, a PS5, a bike, a car. They might be people, a new boyfriend or girlfriend, the perfect spouse, a new child. They might be things like a new job or more money at work. Or there may be things that we think is inside ourselves but is really just as external. Things like meeting an expectation of how we should look or act or how much we should weigh. The thing they all have in common is that they come from outside ourselves. And we're promised in our commercial society that this company or that can supply that happiness. From these promises grow our consumer society and a world of conspicuous consumption and growing mountains of waste. Yet these things that produce this happiness are impermanent, long-lived in the best circumstances, but still impermanent. Whenever we place our hopes in things or people outside ourselves, we lose the ability to build within ourselves a strong foundation of joy. The first step in this must be being happy with ourselves. And I'm not talking about some conceited self-image that says, I'm perfect. I don't need to change. The reality starts with understanding that how we are right now is how we are right now. No wish about how we could have done things in the past is going to do anything to change the past. No thought about how things should be in the future is going to do anything to bring about that future without concrete action. Who we are right now cannot change, but who we will be in the future can, if we work at it. Once we begin to feel joy in ourselves, we are building an unassailable fortress in our hearts that can lead us to expanding into a worldview that is built not from pain, but from joy, from compassion, not from desire. This is where sympathetic joy comes in. Joy is a great part of the teachings of the Buddha, but he places the greatest emphasis on mudita, sympathetic joy. In one discourse, he says, whatever suffering there is in this world, all arises from desiring only myself to be happy. And whatever joy there is in this world, all arises from desiring to share my happiness with everyone. Sympathetic joy is the antithesis of envy. Too often when we see others having success, our response is envy rather than joy. Indeed, I would say the basic assumption of consumer society is envy. See how happy these people are with their new car? Don't you wish you had one too? Without envy, most advertising would fall flat on its face. This is what the Buddha spoke against even 2,600 years ago when he placed the cause of dissatisfaction as being selfish craving. Craving for what others have and we don't. But the Buddha wasn't the only teacher to focus on this. Look at Jesus' parable of the prodigal son. When he returns to his father and a feast is prepared for him, his brother goes off in a huff and says, look, these many years I have served you, and I never disobeyed your commands. Yet you never gave me a young goat that I might celebrate with my friends. But now when the son of yours has come, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you kill the fatted calf for him. The brother fails to feel sympathetic joy in his brother's return, but is envious instead. And this envy causes him to increase his own suffering. Even today, we still teach it is better to give than to receive. Better to see the joy in others at what we have given them than to receive joy ourselves for the things we have received. The example of sympathetic joy I like to use is the joy that parents feel on Christmas morning watching their kids open presents. It's not a joy that comes from something they received or even necessarily from something they did, giving the gifts to the children, or allowing Santa in the house to give the gifts to the children. They are joyful because their children are joyful, and the more joy their kids feel, the more joy they feel. Normally, we only feel the sympathetic joy for a few people in our lives, the ones we really love. In our tradition, we say that Buddhas feel this joy for all living creatures. But if we look at the way saints are described in the Christian tradition, it's much the same. Francis took joy in every animal, Nicholas in every child in his area, Jesus himself with the children crowding to be near him. So can we reach this level of sympathetic joy with the whole world? Maybe not, but we can try. And in increasing our own store of joy, we increase joy for everyone. We build this practice much the way I started our meditation this morning, but actually out in the real world rather than sitting in meditation. First, we need to be aware of the true nature of our thoughts and feelings. Do we feel envy or joy? When we listen to the news, do we focus on the disasters that are being reported because they make better news, quote unquote, or on the compassionate response of all those offering aid in those disasters? When our rival team wins a game, even if it's not against us, do we cheer or mourn? Do we hate it when others succeed, or do we feel joy in their success? Until we're honest with ourselves about how we feel, we can't begin practicing mudita any more than we can expect a GPS to get us to the right destination if we put in the wrong starting location. This is why we Buddhists meditate, so we can get a little space from our thoughts and examine them in honesty instead of getting caught up in them. Once we're sure we're being honest with ourselves, what my teacher calls looking in the mirror of rigorous self-honesty, we can begin practicing to feel joy of others. Start as we did in the meditation with your family, classmates, co-workers, friends. When they receive good news, feel their joy as if it had happened to you. If possible, go and congratulate them, but only if you can do it honestly. As you get better with this, you start moving your circle of joy out further. Begin to do the same with people you're acquainted with, but not really close to. People in other schools, other businesses, acquaintances rather than friends. Now you're ready to make the most difficult move of all, to those people you have difficulties with. These might be rival schools, business rivals, people in your community you've had problems with, people with different political or religious backgrounds. This is going to be the hard one, but it's also the most worthwhile when you find yourself honestly doing it. And then the final step is to expand to all of creation. Psychologists talk about a new affliction. Of course, they're always creating new afflictions. Doesn't help to be a psychologist unless you have something that people can come to you and complain about. The new one is social media depression. The depression that people feel from reading how wonderful other people's lives are on Facebook. But this can only exist if we base our feelings in envy rather than sympathetic joy. If I truly feel joy in what my friends feel, how can I possibly feel bad that they got a new car or went on a great vacation or got a promotion at work? Personally, I'm on social media to share in the lives of my family and friends, and that means sharing in their joy and their pain. Here's another great place to practice sympathetic joy. Honestly examining every post you want to make and see whether it is to share your life with others or to one-up them. Look deeply at your response to other people's posts. Is your first response one of envy or joy? And finally, let other people share in your joy. I get an interesting response in my neighborhood, not so much in my current neighborhood, but my old neighborhood. People knew I was a Buddhist priest, and they would see me put garlands and Christmas trees up, and they'd say, "Why are you doing that? That doesn't have anything to do with you." They felt that the joy of this time of year must be tied to being a Christian. To practice mudita, you not only feel the joy of others, but let others feel your joy as well. But I'm going to tell you a secret about this practice. You're going to fail. You're going to continue to feel envy. But the real practice, the actual exercise, is to acknowledge your failure each time it happens and try again to do better. There's a meditation training that some Zen teachers use called breath counting. This is where you place your full attention on your breath. And as you truly concentrate on your in-breath and your out-breath, you count 1, 2, 3, trying to get to 10. If you get distracted by some thought or feeling during the breath, you have to start over again at 1. Most people never make it to 10. And people think this exercise is about deepening their concentration. Now, that's a small part of it. But the real exercise is practicing forgiving yourself and not jumping into judgment. Everyone is going to fail at this task, but the important thing is to start over again without judging yourself or getting mad at yourself. You are going to fail, but that doesn't make you a failure. You're not going to complete the task, but that doesn't make you bad. This is the secret. And now you all understand Zen. And trying to do it's the other problem. The same thing applies to the practice of mudita. You're not always going to feel sympathetic joy. Sometimes you're going to be envious and angry. The important thing in the practice is to acknowledge how you're actually feeling and try to do better next time. And another funny thing is that as you're feeling this joy and other people's joy, your own joy is increasing, even though you're not getting anything out of it. The fact is that we're all interconnected beings. Scientists tell us that the molecules we're made of can be traced back to the matter that burst into being at the first moment of creation. Matter since then can neither be destroyed nor created, only transformed into something different. We've all been other people, other animals, other things in times gone by. And we will become other things in the far, far future. This isn't reincarnation, it's science. But it applies more than just to the matter that composes our bodies. Who we are today is the result of people and pets and activities and experiences that went on even before we were born, as well as those things in which we've participated during our lives. And the things that we do and say and experience will affect everyone, everything we come in contact with during our lives. As we choose to experience more joy, both in our own lives and through sympathetic joy in the lives of others, this will spread more joy to those we interact with. And they will spread it to those they interact with, and so on and so on. Joy multiplies joy. Peace multiplies peace. And I'm sorry to say, hatred and sorrow multiply hatred and sorrow. Choose peace. Choose joy. Practice joy. May you have joy in the birth of Jesus and share that joy with the whole world.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sensei Glenn. That was amazing. Just in time. And we share in your joy as you share in ours. That's wonderful. And it is that spirit of joy that carries us through, not just through the Christmas season, but all through the year. And we know in unity that our greatest joy comes not in receiving, but in giving. And it is through your loving support of this ministry that we continue to fulfill our mission. And so through your tithes, gifts, and love offerings, we are so blessed, so grateful, and we continue to serve this Central Ohio area and the world. Remember that unity is not just your spiritual home, but it is part of a greater movement. We are working toward a greater vision, and it is you who help make it possible. You are unity. And so with that in mind, I invite us to take our love offerings, whatever they may be, and I'll affirm our offering blessing once and invite you to repeat it after me. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. Together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. And those of you who are joining us online, either live or at a later date, feel free to visit our website, unityofcolumbus.org, and on the home page, click the Donate button. All right, and it is with, again, great joy that I thank all of you who are here present in the physical space and in our worldwide interwebs, as I like to call them. And a very special thanks once again to Sensei Glenn for this wonderful message. Yes. You have to come back sometime, yes. And once again, a warm thanks to our own Jim Maneri. The man does it all. All right. And so I invite us now to stand, and we'll affirm the prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And I invite us to just feel the joy, the peace, the love, and the hope of this holiday season. As you receive these words of our closing peace song, I invite you to know that peace in the world truly begins with each and every one of us.